numbers on the back of the sheet represent the combinations that would allow us to be sustainable for 6 to 8 years. So at $1.25 million, it would take reductions over that 6 to 8 years of $750,000, which is what you just said, for that to be sustainable for 6 to 8 years. If you had picked the $1.5 million question, it would have been $500,000. The 1.75 would have been $250,000. It's just a combination of numbers to get to $2 million. The $2 million just represents the amount of money on average that we would have needed over a 6 to 8 year period to sustain every program without reducing a thing. Okay? And when you deviate from that number, meaning you ask for fewer dollars, then it has to be made up from whatever is on the list. So it does, your list includes both an option for grade centers, for class size. There's a number of items also below the list besides the programs, the items that we said we would do in every plan. So it would be from those items, all those items on that list. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
So how long do you feel that it would be sustainable if we were to pass the referendum and make the $250,000 cuts next year that we're required to, while planning then to transition into grade centers, which would then save us $948,000. I mean, we could obviously put something back at that point, correct? Because we are over and above the $750,000 mark that you said we need to be at to be sustainable for 6 to 8 years.
That's
correct? Okay.
I mean, on the grade center piece, another way of looking at this, okay, maybe it's easier, is that if you have 1.25 and the teaching,
Speak up, please.
if you have 1.25 on the grade centers, another way of looking at this, in the grade center plan, the savings for just the grade centers is about 540, if I remember, on the C, which is the regular teaching without touching programs. That gets you to 1.75 million. So it would only be 250 more for that 6 to 8 years. If you look, some of those items could come below the line and not affect any programs and be sustainable. And the only thing I would remark is that I would never, you wouldn't want to wait any longer than that, because you lose the value of the compounding of savings if you wait too long. And then now you're looking at having to actually do more, okay?
So essentially, if the referendum didn't pass, you would have 6 to 8 years to figure it out. I mean, to try to get it passed, right? We have more time to try to get it passed.
No. If it doesn't pass, you're going to do $750,000 worth of reductions.
Okay, right.
And then, if it didn't pass next March, if it never passes, let's just say it never passes, you will have to come up with about $200 and some thousand a year every year.
Of more reductions.
Oh, well, next year would be another 750 probably.
Yes.
Then 200 a year after that. I mean, we have made progress. I mean, I want to make sure everybody knows that there was a higher number a year ago because we did a lot of good things this last year. So we're down. That's why we said we think we could bring it down a couple of years and get more in the habit of asking for money at regular intervals instead of after 24 years is really hard. I mean, I'm sure you all appreciate that at this point.
What's the standard interval for asking for referendum?
24 years.
Well, there is no standard.
There's no standard.
I've seen districts go both ways. Unfortunately, the ones that can go at longer have more industry, commercial property, and that tends to offset a lot of things, or still have enough area of vacant land that they can get some growth. And you're basically, landlocked, and what you have for commercial is probably about what you're going to have. So that's tough.
So if we do nothing, it would be 3 to 4 years if the referendum passes before we have to do something again.
Okay, I think you reword
There's-
that so I answer it correctly.
Okay, right, I know, there's confusion on why, and we get the 125. We will not,
1.25
One-
million.
1.25.
Right.
We will not really have to cut any programs except for maybe a little bit in the upper grades, where we'll cut a little bit of the staffing, correct?
If that's what you want to do to balance the
Out
budget.
of 250, we still have to cut at least 250.
If you want to balance the budget next year, the answer to that is correct.
Okay, all right.
That-
And the following year, that's just added that much more that we would have to reduce
Right, or come up with a more permanent solution.
for what it is.
Yes.
I think the question is this is, I'm just gonna put it in the context. Well, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want your legacy to be? This is an issue that has perpetuated and it's only gotten to the point where it's a 900-pound gorilla sitting in the middle of the room, and you have to make a decision. You too can perpetuate the problem if you so choose. Which will, as you can imagine, will create more questions, in some cases more animosity, and less trust from the community, if you so choose. And I'm of the mind that this board can only make a decision that this board can uphold. You can't say that the next board is going to do something that they're not expected to do. Because you're gonna have free thinkers that come on that may have a different perspective. That may not agree with the conditional promise and if-then statement. If we have 1 year, we're then gonna transition to grade centers. I would not make that promise. You cannot sustain that. You cannot even have a vote that will keep that engaged for the following year. So the if-then statement doesn't necessarily hold. So I would be very cautious. You are gonna be remembered based on your last performance. You will be remembered based on your last performance. And keep that in mind. It's about your legacy. What do you want your legacy to be? Do you want to perpetuate the problem and be here the next year, and the next year, and the next year? And if you think the climate and culture is bad, just imagine if you become a district that is continually bad when it comes to climate and culture. And that's a choice that you have to make. This is not easy. I've told you, this is not an easy choice. You are going to lose friends. And I'm sure you've already lost friends. And people in the audience are going to lose friends too. Because you're going to be remembered for one of three things. Ready? Raising taxes, cutting programs, or going to grade centers. Welcome to the board. You have one of three choices. None of them are popular. None of them are popular. And so just keep that in mind, because I'm a simpleton. I keep off of the sheet. I don't like doing, I've told this to Craig, I'll tell it to you. I do not do math in the public. I will not do it. I work off of the sheet. Everybody in the audience has this sheet. I'm a simpleton. 1.2 equals a permanent cut of $750,000. You can so choose the rules if you want, but it's going to become confusing come next year when you have to do more cuts. Because people are going to say, well, you said this last year, and you said this last year. By the way, you have to remember exactly what you said, too. And that's not easy with the camera in the front row. So, well, keep it in mind. Keep it in mind. And you know, I'm a simple person. I know we've worked through these. And let me remind you, there were two committees, one on behalf of the superintendent, another one on behalf of the board. The superintendents gave us some guidelines, gave me some guidelines that I shared with you. We want the lowest possible amount, needs to be less than $500,000 or $250,000 home, and give us options on the ballot. The other one, we had a vote. We may not have liked the vote, but the ad hoc, depending on how you look at the vote, it was either unanimously for scenario 5, or slightly greater for scenario 4. If you deviate, then you own it as a board. You're going to have to deviate, and it sounds like we've deviated from that. And I understand why, because we wanted more information, and we wanted to be very clear, because you were right. I mean, there were certain things that were not clear. We posed a question, and sometimes those questions, deviate from the sheet of paper, and I understand it. So I just wanted to basically, share those thoughts as I'm looking through this, because I'm a simple-minded person, not complex. And working off the sheet is easier for the public to understand to a certain extent, and easy for me to understand, but what do you want your legacy to be? That's the question I'm asking the board. That's my question. That's my challenge for you too.
My answer to that is, my legacy was to be not throwing together a grade center when we're being told by multiple different areas that it's not the best thing to do in a short period of time. And that if we can try and get this from where the past, where we wouldn't have to cut programs, and then only have to reduce the number, not only, but by reducing the number of teachers, we'd be able to sustain for 1 year, and then I know the idea of the grade centers, if that's something that could happen in the future, that's fine. Like you said, that would be with a different board, but on the next year that comes up, then that would be the option of what they could do. Sorry, but that would be the option of what they could do. But by putting together the grade centers and trying to do it with half a semester, when we've been told with architects, by Dr. O'Malley, by multiple facets, that it's not the ideal thing to do, then to me, it doesn't seem like we're being very responsible. And so I don't want my legacy being throwing kids and throwing everything because it's the easy fix to do.
I would, if I had to choose my legacy, I would side with the children and try to preserve as many of the programs as we can. And the only really way to do that and be fiscally responsible is scenario number 5 with the grade centers. So try to look at how to preserve the programs as much as we can and to save them. And it's the difficult decision that we have to make. But the board from 2010-11 was faced with this, and they were right. They were right. We should have gone to grade centers back then. This community didn't want it, and the new board, which I was part of, agreed with them, and we postponed that. If we don't make a decision, soon, the next board is going to have to address it, or the board after that. And the issue that I have with that is that it's a distraction. Dr. O'Malley said this has been a distraction ever since he came here. The last couple of days I went through the minutes from 2014. Every single minutes that we had, which is online, I went through. I went through every finance committee meeting out there. This really hasn't been brought to the forefront until July, August of 2015. When Dr. O'Malley came on the board and he started to look at the numbers, he's like, we're in trouble. And that's when it all kind of hit all of us. We knew that we were deficit spending because that's something this board has been doing since 2008-9, but the magnitude, how fast it's been. And then I actually went through and I looked at both PMA reports from 2014 to 2015, and looking at, which is in our board books. The big difference is in 2014, when we're looking at it, there's two big differences. They said that we would have 2% growth. We actually only had 0.9 or 0.8. The difference is that the projection showed 70.4 full-time teaching staff going out 5 years, which we're at 81 right now. So that's where the big difference is. And the enrollment numbers were off because now we pay a service to do the projection of enrollment. So now we have a better understanding of what enrollment looks like. And so that's where the big difference is on those two reports. I went back and I looked at the minutes. Not one board member asked a question about the budget in a sense, or when PMA came. We asked about truth in lending. We asked about when new property comes on with the assessed value, how it looks like. But no one had ever raised a question at this board table on the budget and is it sustainable with the contract. The minutes are out there. It's public knowledge. We could look at them. But those are things out there is that, in the next few weeks, months, year, we have to make this decision. The sooner the better. And, how do we preserve as much as we can with the programs? And to me, it's grade centers.